PK in the universe, and I am back again with another video. It's been a hot minute since I made any type of Evercade content, and today I wanted to talk about Kai Magazine or K Magazine, however you say them. They're a small developer, a Spanish developer. I don't know how many people work on this team. It's a small team, from what I heard. I would guess maybe 4 to 5 people. And of course, they had created this little Evercade cartridge here, which contains Metal Dragon and Life on Mars. Well, they've come under some controversy recently. I was thinking about maybe just sitting on this story and maybe just not even reacting to it, but I was like, you know what? I want to give my thoughts because my thoughts might be something different that I can put out into the universe that I'm maybe not seeing anywhere else. I have mixed feelings about it. Now, what's the controversy? Well, apparently, these guys have basically been pretty liberal with taking assets from other places to create their game and their games, especially like Metal Dragon, I guess. Here's the thing. Metal Dragon, of course, is a parody of Metal Gear and Mercs, obviously, and that's what it basically takes a lot of inspiration from. Well, apparently a lot of this stuff, there's some lifted stuff throughout or whatever, and they've been doing this for quite a long time, I guess, where they've the artist has taken a lot of creative liberties, kind of like, Metal Gear, for example. A lot of people point to the fact that Metal Gear, the original cover of Metal Gear, at least anyways, the original Metal Gear game, is basically just Kyle Reese from Terminator. And then you got Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which of course uses a lot of, famous actors, their likenesses. Mel Gibson and Sean Connery and Tom Berenger, it uses their likeness, probably without their permission. Now, back in the day, a lot of people will argue, well, back in the day it was somehow okay and it's not okay today. It's like, it wasn't really okay then, because obviously you're stealing somebody's likeness, maybe, and not giving any kind of credit, and you're using them as a model. That was still illegal back then. But the problem is, back then, video games were not as big as they are now. We didn't have the internet. There were so many other factors, and there wasn't a lot of money to be gained by suing a video game company. Now, video games are $1 billion industry. So, yeah, it's kind of a much bigger deal nowadays. There's some aspects of this thing. I don't feel like this is totally black and white, good versus evil kind of thing. I do think, these people probably started out as hobbyists, and it's possible that they don't remember where they got stuff from. That's kind of a possibility. And I'm looking at some of their work. I'm looking at some of these screenshots, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of derivative, to be honest. A lot of this is very derivative, but it's not exactly copy and paste. It's not like they just straight up copy and pasted something and put it in there. That's not what's happening here. To me, that's like legitimate stealing. But there are some instances, like I think the one thing that was to me a little bit not cool was the fact that they took the background from Siege and the Sand Fox, which is a indie game, and that's been in development for some time. I think it's out now at this point. That's not cool. Yeah, obviously, and they took some lazy pixel art and they put it in front of it. Sure, I think that's fair. That you shouldn't take away from somebody who's actively developing something, but some of these old games or whatever, I'm kind of like, yeah, you can tell they were inspired and this is very derivative and they definitely took some creative liberties. But those particular things are total nothing burgers, honestly, as far as I'm concerned. It's like nobody cares. This is Kai Magazine software. Nobody knows who this company is. This isn't Limited Run Games. This isn't Nintendo. This is some nobody. This is a nobody studio that nobody's ever heard of. Nobody cares for the most part. Like if I go down to Walmart and say, hey, did you hear that what about K Studios did with their Mega Drive games and Genesis games? People look at me like I'm crazy, okay? These games aren't a Nintendo Switch. You can't buy them digitally. Now, I do have this game physically, and I have saved the ROMs on it. Yes, I have saved them, put them on my EverSD. So, who's going to stop me? I guess I could anonymously release those ROMs somewhere, but am I going to? I don't care, honestly. I really don't. I don't have the time for this kind of thing. But this person who's doing all the research, so this was an article from Time Extension that I found, And the person who's been cited as the source for most of this exposure is some person named Crocodile. Yeah, and it's spelled all funny and whatnot. Cool, very clever. You're very unique. But this person, it's ironic too. We shouldn't call them Crocodile. We should call this person Hamilton. That's right. They are clearly not the type who's ever satisfied because they have to keep digging and digging to no end, honestly. And the reason I call them Hamilton is because of their logo. Their logo is so derivative. This is clearly a ripoff of the Hamilton logo, and it's just so obvious. It's like, how are you going to have the most derivative logo and then go out there and tell other companies how to live their lives and how to do their thing, you know? I'm like, the irony, honestly, of that. But yeah, what an incredibly unoriginal logo, but here nor there. Here or there. Like, yeah, I think Crocodile's got a darn good point about, stealing from the Siege and the Sandfox. Yeah, stealing their banner, that's pretty crappy, and just putting some lazy pixel art on there. Fair point. And they also make a fair point about no one would care if this was some fan game, and they weren't making any money off of it. That's also a fair point. That's a fair point. But at the end of the day, nobody cares, honestly. Nobody knows who this is. Nobody knows who these developers are. These are not a mainstream developer. They aren't on the Nintendo Switch. They aren't on Switch 2. They aren't on any major system at all. They're just very derivative, games that you can only buy physically or on Evercade, of course. Which kind of brings me to the point of my video is, what should Blaze do it? What should the boys at Blaze who make the Evercade stuff do about this? How should they respond to this? And my thought is, well, one, this is surprising coming from me because I've always been a defender of, man, I'd like to see more indie devs on Blaze. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, so many of the Indie 4 Heroes collections, I don't know why I said Indie 4, Indie Heroes collections, there's 4 of them. So many of these games are amateur games and were developed by people, just maybe one guy, which I used to think was really charming, but now when you see something like this, it kind of makes you second guess that, honestly. Maybe there should be fewer, they should have games that are mainstream, games that are on Nintendo Switch, something like Cathedral. But this, Blaze probably won't respond at all, I would guess. They'll probably just wait for this to blow over because that's, at the end of the day, this is one article. It's not like this is making national headlines. Nobody cares. I'm sorry, but nobody cares. Yeah, Blaze will probably just wait for this to blow over. But if they do respond, let's say they decide to recall every single one of these. Let's say they decide to recall every single copy of this Metal Dragon Life on Mars dual card. What's going to happen? The answer is, one, they'd lose some money, obviously, off that, and destroy if they had to destroy the carts and recall the ones that retailers have already bought and have to give them their money back. But you know who the real winner is? It's not the developers. It's not the developers of that Sandfox game. It's not any developer that Kai Magazine may have lifted from. You know who the real winner is? It's me. I'm the winner. That's right, because I'll still have this cartridge. And guess what? The thing about Evercade collectors is anybody who is new to the Evercade scene oftentimes gets this silly idea in their head that they got to catch them all, that they want them all. So I sit on this thing for a long time, sell it, and make a bunch of money. In the end, I'm going to win. I'm the one who has the most incentive to see these all recalled. So at the end of the day, it's like, this guy, this Hamilton guy, or girl or person, I don't know who they are, honestly. They act like they're doing some type of, creating justice or whatever, exposing this small dev team, but really, they're not really helping those dev teams at all. They're not making a difference. In the end, they're just going to make me money in the end. That's all. And that's my opinion on that, and here's the thing, too. I guess it all stems back from them calling out some YouTuber, actually. Some YouTuber called Retro Gamer Boy. I've never heard of Retro Gamer Boy. Apparently, Retro Gamer Boy has 32,000 subscribers. Talk about another small potato, honestly. Yeah, I know I'm a channel with like 2,800 subscribers maybe at this point. I don't know. I can't remember. But Retro Gamer Boy? Like, really? This is this is what caused all this? It's like this game was reviewed like 3 years ago by people like John Hancock and John Riggs, and Sega Lord X recently did a whole video about Kai Magazine software games. Like, why are we going after Retro Gamer Boy when you could go after like much bigger fish who've shilled this game? And that's what I really hate. I hate the whole sentiment that, oh, all these gaming YouTubers are trying to scam everybody. And it's like, yeah, sure, they might have some type of affiliate deal or something. And but at the end of the day, these people make these videos not just to make money, but to actually do what they love, which is to talk about games. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm making this because I like to talk about games and I like to talk about topics that interest me. And yeah, that's stupid, like blaming the YouTubers. You should never trust any YouTuber, says a YouTuber who's talking to you right now. You should never. You should just play games. You should play the games that you want to play. If you think it looks interesting, go play it. That's what I do. I don't care what the YouTubers or reviewers say. And you shouldn't care what YouTubers and reviewers say. They're there to entertain you. You wouldn't watch their videos if you weren't already interested in the game to begin with. And if they had the same tastes you have, obviously go buy those games. The whole idea that all the YouTubers are just trying to scam you is kind of ridiculous. I mean, these are people, yeah, they make some money off of it. But some of these people also have regular jobs. I'm a regular guy with a regular job. I don't really care if I make any money off YouTube. I don't make enough money to care about the money I make off of YouTube. I've made more in 1 week at work than I have in my entire time on YouTube in like 13 years or whatever the heck it's been. Who cares? Who cares? Nobody cares. Yeah, I don't think Blaze should even respond in any way to all of that because it will probably blow over. But that being said, going forward, Blaze should, get games like Cathedral or games, like Full Void. Not games like these, not these freaking Sega Mega Drive games. I hate that I even have to say that, but if it's an indie game, off itch.io, maybe that's not a good idea anymore. Maybe that's not the best idea. I mean, there's some good games though. There's some games I've played and enjoyed, but at the end of the day, I could just go buy those games on itch.io if I'm being really honest with myself. It's like Blaze should focus on getting those high-end indie games instead of getting, these Mega Drive games from this questionable developer, honestly. And here's the thing, too. The Blaze Evercade community, will they care? I mean, some people might. And some people might be like, well, we are buying SNK games, and SNK's owned by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and we could talk about the atrocities of that, but we won't talk about that. We'll turn a blind eye, of course. Oh, man. Yeah, I won't buy the SNK games, personally. No. I enjoyed some SNK games. I enjoyed, like, Metal Slug. I remember playing that SNK Volume 1. I think it was on, like, PS2 or Wii or something. Yeah, there's some good games from SNK, but I don't choose to support current SNK, but yeah, I don't know. Not trying to get, upset people. You buy whatever you want to buy. This is a capitalist society we live in, and everything is what it is, and we have money and we buy things, and that's just how it goes. But at the end of the day, does it really matter that these guys took some creative liberties? I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you could send them a C&D and then they pull it off the shelf, but it's already out on the internet. It's out. There's cartridges everywhere. There's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, you could sue them and they could go broke, but maybe they don't even have any money to begin with, which is why I think it's kind of ridiculous to go after these guys. Like, why not go after a bigger company? There's bigger companies that have been doing shady stuff for years, but if you're going to make a name for yourself, I guess you go after somebody small. You punch up. If you're a small person, you punch up somebody who's a little bit bigger, but I don't know. It's a weird situation for sure. And but yeah, I got a kick out of this. I got a kick out of like reading this article. So I wanted to share my quick thoughts on that. Some people need to just go outside, go barefoot and just step on that grass, get yourself grounded, because there's just more important things in life. There's really more important things in life than did somebody, take creative liberties with some assets? Holy cow. I'm not defending it, though. I mean, I think these companies should maybe work on doing better and, make it so advancedly different that no one would know. Because yeah, maybe I mean, that's a lazy artist there, and wasn't doing enough, and was just too derivative of work. I get that. I can see where people are coming from when they look at that. But some of it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that they definitely took inspiration from that, but that's a stretch. I mean, I think they made some of these things differently enough that this isn't blatantly stealing. But yeah, they shouldn't steal from an indie dev though. That's garbage. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? At the end of the day, the only person who wins if Blaze decides to pull all these cartridges off is me. Me and everybody who has one, because there's always those people who get into the Evercade collecting and have to catch them all. They gotta catch them all. So, anyways, that's all the time I have for today. What are your guys' thoughts? I'm not going to ask you if you think it's wrong to steal, because we know it's wrong to steal, but is this really the worst thing going on in the world right now, or is this a total nothing burger? I don't know. Your call. Anyways, you stay awesome in this universe. Later.